Hello everyone, and welcome to our session, Synchronous and Asynchronous Learning Cycles. This is an introduction to flipping your classroom instruction, and we'll give you a taste of 3 tools in particular, PlayPosit, Meerpot, and Thinglink, that all have free options that you can use as you start to transition to a flipped classroom model. And even if you choose not to flip your classroom, these are wonderful tools to build knowledge within your students and keep them engaged. So a little bit about myself. My name is Liz Pandya, or Elizabeth Pandya. I started my career as a teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools. I started volunteering with the Washington English Center back in 2018, as well as became an ed tech specialist for DC Public Schools. Those 2 experiences really heightened my awareness of the opportunity to bridge the use of technology for our English language learners in the classroom. And so I am now pursuing my master's in TESOL at the University of Maryland, as well as doing some consulting for Microsoft. So why the flipped model? And so all of this is coming from the context of English language learners. So as ESOL teachers, we know that there's always a dual need for language and content support within all of our lessons. So we are always doing double time to adequately serve our students. We know that even within each small group, there is still a large amount of diversity within the group. And so we need to be able to reach students in a meaningful way that is personalized to their present level. Keep in mind that the more time you talk in class, the less time that students have to talk. And overall, we want to make sure that we are creating meaningful experiences that prepare our students to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, and can create. And so if you take a look at the side, this is Bloom's taxonomy, which I'm sure we are very familiar with this chart. So typically in a traditional classroom model, most of classroom time is spent in the understanding and remembering phase. When we flip the model, we get more time in creation, evaluation, and analyze. So what is flipped learning? Within the traditional learning experience, we are spending more time on the direct instruction, and then a lot of the application gets done at the tail end of class or is done at home without direct support of the instructor. In the flipped model, we are front-loading direct instruction outside of the classroom, which is leaving more time for application and discussion through group work and meaningful projects within the classroom. Now, this does not mean that we can completely just transition lectures over. Now, for my K-12 folks, I know you probably are not lecturing in your classroom, but it's still the flipped model. When students are engaging with direct instruction, they still need to be active learners in that process. So I'm going to show you 3 tools today that really would allow students to deeply engage with the content, even though it is taking place outside of the classroom. And again, all of this is so they have more background knowledge, you're level setting on what information they need to know to come into the classroom space, or within this present context, your synchronous learning time, which may be taking place in the classroom, online, or simultaneously both, that the students, when they do come together for those discussions, for the group work, it's very much focused on them and their application. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the 3 tools. I will give you a second to take a look at this chart. After we experience all 3 tools, it will probably make more sense to you. But just a quick note, I am showing the free versions of all of the tools today. I have found that they are adequate for my needs. If you are in DC Public Schools, you have access to a PlayPosit Pro account, as well as a Meerpot account, because I believe it is still, the Pro version is free through your Microsoft account. If you are Google School, you may have Meerpot free to you because your district has purchased it. And as you engage with these tools, and you find if your district does not have this, or if your school system does not have it, and it is meaningful to you, then you should definitely advocate for these tools, because I have found that PlayPosit, Meerpot, and Thinglink are really wonderful tools for building students' background knowledge in an active and meaningful way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with an example of a PlayPosit bulb. And so this is a combination of videos that I created myself, as well as existing videos that I found from YouTube. And the topic of this is living things, and you will see over the 3 examples of PlayPosit, Meerpot, and Thinglink, we are all building background knowledge on habitats and living things. So here we go. Okay, and so now we are engaging with our first interaction. So in PlayPosit, you make something called bulbs, which are your lessons. That's what we're watching now. And within our bulb, there is an interaction for us as the students to engage with. So I read my question: what do humans, plants, and animals have in common? I can also hear the question read to me. And then when I'm ready, I go ahead and I make my selection choice. And when I hit submit, I'm getting immediate feedback on the multiple choice questions as to whether or not I got it correct. Now, because I got it correct, we're going to go ahead and advance with the video. If I had gotten this question incorrect, as the instructor, you can have students jump back and rewatch the first minute of the video to ensure that they're really getting that content. Okay, again, so we're having another interaction here. Again, as the teacher, I recorded the question as well so the students could read or hear the question. And then I'm going to go ahead and select it and hit submit. And again, getting that immediate feedback that I've gotten it correct. If not, if I got it incorrect, we could jump back to watch that portion of the video again, and then continuing forward. Okay, so this is one of my favorite features of PlayPosit, is the ability for students to see the relevant content and answer the question at the same time. So you can ask questions that are specifically targeted to the content that the students are seeing on the screen. So right now we're seeing an image, but you could have text displayed here. You could have a number of things displayed here. Now, all of the questions that I've added to this bulb are multiple choice because they provide immediate feedback. However, you can do free response questions where the students can actually record their own free response, either written or audio. So that's another feature that exists within PlayPosit. So again, I'm going to see the living things I see here. I'm going to mark all apply, and I'm going to get this one incorrect just so you can see what happens. And so I've gotten it incorrect, and I've added, as the instructor, some feedback for the students so that they understand why they got it incorrect. And I can continue forward. Again, can you identify the non-living thing in this habitat? And finally, which living thing is not in this habitat? And that is our bulb. Again, I'm getting it correct, and I'm getting more targeted feedback as to why that answer choice is correct, because as the instructor, I embedded that in. Now, another note about PlayPosit is you come over here and students can review the questions as well as the scores that they received. They can add notes to their PlayPosit bulb, and then there is the ability to copy the bulb, because the students are going to be making accounts, and so when they do that, then they have it in their library. And so that is an example of PlayPosit. And so the next tool that we're going to go ahead and take a look at is Meerpot. So one of the big differences between Meerpot and PlayPosit students do have to have an account if you want to collect the data. So right now I just shared a link where I wasn't collecting data, but if you want to be able to monitor how your students have done on PlayPosit, they're going to need to make accounts, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But shifting over to Meerpot, so students do not need to have an account here, and so we're going to go ahead and we'll begin with some slides that I've added to the deck. And so what is one thing you need to live? And so again, this is just some background knowledge added with some slides, our objective, what is a habitat, and then we get the students right into it. And so this first question says, can you match the elements of the habitat for this bear that we see here? And so I can actually play the instructions. And so again, you can play and record those instructions for whatever activity you would like to have. And so here I can use the drawing tool, and I can draw food down to the plants. I could draw food down to the squirrel, shelter to the cave, water to the lake. And so as the student, I'm fully interacting with this platform and critically kind of thinking through what it means for this animal's habitat. And as the teacher, I'm able to monitor all of my students and see if they were getting this each step of the way. And so I hit submit, and so I carry on. And so again, I have some recordings here, so you can have students read text. If you would like to record it, you can record it. And so students would be able to listen to that through. Again, I've added text, so if I want to annotate the text, I can go ahead and I can do that. And after the students engage with the text, you can have them complete a variety of different activities to check their understanding. This is a fill in the blank. My students that are level 1s and 2s in my classes, this is really great for them to be able to apply their vocabulary. So most rainforests are very hot. Rainforests get lots of water, and plants and animals need lots of rain to live. And so it tells me that I got 2 incorrect. And so that's because I should have switched rain and water. So with that, students can go back, check their understanding for what they got wrong, do it again so that they can get it correct. Great, so this time we got it right and we are moving forward. And so again, students are going to be able to have the opportunity to read about different habitats. They can annotate here. And so again, I just uploaded a PDF. You could upload anything here. You could have the students draw, you could have the students annotate, you could have the students match words to pictures, a variety of different things. Essentially anything you would be doing as a worksheet, you are able to digitize in Meerpot. Again, another fill in the blank. And then at the end, I've added in something called time to climb. Now, my elementary students absolutely love time to climb. They ask to play this game essentially every day. And so if you're thinking about, while your hesitation about the flipped classroom is students do not engage in homework typically, or you have low response rates for homework, embedding in activities like time to climb, my students have asked me to turn my Meerpot lessons into self-paced so that they can play time to climb outside of class. So if you think about and you are able to figure out and identify what is going to really excite your students, that might create more excitement and motivation around engaging with the content outside of the class. So here I'm going to go ahead and pick my character and start. And I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and answer each of the questions. So I'm going to get this one wrong to see what we'll see. It tells the students what the correct answer is. And so that was an example of the time to climb game, which my elementary students just absolutely love. And we are now going to transition over to our last tool, which is Thinglink. And so with Thinglink, you are uploading a background image, and then from here you can have essentially interactive points on your background image where students can learn more about it. So here we have a background image of different habitats building on our lesson, and students can click on the different icons and see different learn different facts about the habitats. So unlike the PlayPosit bulb and the Meerpot lesson, this is actually someone else's lesson that I cloned in Thinglink, and then I added a little something to it. So one thing that I do really, really love about Thinglink is that Immersive Reader is built in to the tool when you add text. So what does that mean? So if I click here on the star, I can read all about polar habitats, and I see a picture of the polar habitats. I look for this icon here. Now, because I'm using my audio on my computer to speak, you are not going to hear the audio, but if I click this, the text can be read to students. And so right now it is set to English. So when I hit play, it is reading it in English. Now I can slow that down. If it needs to be slowed down, I can speed it up. And so hopefully, I hope many of you are already familiar with what Immersive Reader is. I'm going to go ahead and add a link to learn more about Immersive Reader to the deck, just in case you need a full tutorial on Immersive Reader. But the short of it is it reads text to students, and this is built into many different programs. So it is built into Meerpot as well. It will read the Meerpot directions, but only if you have the Pro account. It is not currently a feature that is available in the free account, though that very well may change. And so coming over here, you can and turn on the picture dictionary, which if you hover over the word, there's a picture, and then you can change the language here. Right now, there is not Amharic, nor is there the read aloud option for Dari or Pashto, which are two languages that I need daily with my students. But more and more languages are added and come over time, so you're able to translate to the L1 if you need it. And so that's Immersive Reader. And so again, you are seeing that because I added direct text to the page. So if you had added the image, you see the immersive icon reader is not there because it's unable to read text from an image. And that's just a quick note about accessibility overall. If you know you are using a program with Immersive Reader, try to use text directly in whatever platform so that Immersive Reader will work. Note that it has difficulty picking up text from images. And so that is Thinglink. And so again, the students can click around. Now, this is just a link to different images, but you can also embed a link to videos. So this is all about animal adaptations. And so with the free version here, you are not tracking any data like you would in PlayPosit or Meerpot, but it's really just a way for the students to kind of learn more and expand their knowledge with the free version. When you have the paid account, you're able to monitor who's engaging with it. And so this is also a great way to do a student project, but that's a different session for a different day. And so that is Thinglink. So coming back over here, let's just go ahead and kind of recap these tools and how I use them and how I recommend them. I know for many teachers, you are constantly bombarded with tech tools, particularly in today's climate, and you really just want to know, like, what does it all mean, and where should you get started, and where are you going to get the most bang for your buck. And so I really think that Meerpot is a wonderful because first and foremost, you can start with your existing PowerPoints. So you can take PowerPoints that you already have, upload them into Meerpot, and embed in interaction so that the students engage with the content. Now you could technically do that for PlayPosit as well, but the main difference between PlayPosit and Meerpot is with PlayPosit, you are getting started with a video. So whether it's content that you find on YouTube that you like, you're going to copy that URL and paste it into the PlayPosit ball to get started. Now with the free version, you can only pull content from YouTube, which means if you want to create your own content, you're going to put your content on YouTube first and then pull it in, which in the example that you saw with my PlayPosit bot, you can see that you can really nicely blend together content that you make and content that you find existing on YouTube into one experience. And I love that because I find for my students, I'm pulling content from a variety of sources, video content that is, and you can edit it down and take just what you need, which I love that about PlayPosit. So the big difference is with PlayPosit, you're starting with a link from YouTube, either one that you've uploaded or one that was there. With Meerpot, you're probably going to start from scratch, or you can start with those existing slides. Now, one thing I do want to note is that both PlayPosit, actually all three, PlayPosit, Meerpot, and Thinglink have pre-made resources, which if you're like me, you're serving students across multiple grade bands, you're dealing with different contents, and so it's nice to have access to a bank of pre-made resources. Now I demoed Immersive Reader for you, and so really you can see here Thinglink has a lot of X's, but the one thing that I do really love about Thinglink is that Immersive Reader is built in and will read the content, and I think that that just has a lot of value. And then most importantly with the flipped model is you need to select tools where students are getting immediate feedback. One of the great things about the flipped model is that students can move at their own pace. With that, they really need to be getting that feedback to know if they are moving in the right direction and they're grasping the content. And so that is one thing that I love about PlayPosit is you saw that students knew right away if they got it correct or incorrect. And with Meerpot, if as long as you're doing a multiple choice question, the fill in the blank, the time to climb game, vocabulary matching, they're all going to get immediate feedback on that, which is really great. And one last thing to note here is easy access to search images, which you may be wondering, what does that mean? With Meerpot, you can easily search for an image to pull in either as a part of the directions or a part of the matching game. And I find that that just really helps me save time. So if I need to match the name of the habitat to the habitat, I can quickly make a matching game in a minute rather than having to find images on the internet and then save them and upload them into my PowerPoint or whatever it may be. And my last note here is, again, for PlayPosit, that ability to see content and answer questions at the same time is really, really helpful. So if you want to have students analyze a text and answer questions, you can have the text on one side, question on the other, and you can, order in interactions right after each other so that they're still seeing that same content if you would like to have multiple questions per a single passage or whatever it may be. And so I've included the links to all of our sample lessons in the deck that you have access to, so please engage with them. I know in the video you are not able to hear the audio of the lessons. It's not essential to what we were doing today, but if you would like to hear the audio and get the full experience, the links are there. So, quick note to wrap up here. Again, what I was discussing with you all today were the free versions. As with anything in life, you don't get everything with the free version. So with PlayPosit, if you are not on a pro account, which again, if you are with DC Public Schools, you are, but if you do not have the pro account of PlayPosit, you're going to get a limit of 100 bulb attempts for your learners per month, which essentially means if you have 25 students in a class, you can do 4 bulbs per month. With Meerpot, the limitations are going to come from the storage limit within your lessons that you upload onto the platform, as well as a maximum of 30 students in a session at a time. Now, even if you are a secondary or elementary school teacher, for me, I have 7 groups a day. I do a different link for all of my groups, so that's kind of one way that you can get around that. And then finally, with Thinglink, you are not able to add students. So, students might be engaging with your Thinglink, but you are not going to get data back to know how the students are interacting. That is a significant difference from PlayPosit and Meerpot, where you are getting data back. So thank you all for joining me today for this introduction into flipped learning. Again, this was just a taste, and I know you may have many questions, so please feel free to reach out at lizpandia@gmail.com or at Twitter, which is Pandya_Express. And thank you all very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your conference experience.